the Ducks are going to need to slow down Washington State quarterback Cameron Ward, who has proven to be one of the most effective passers so far through 3 games this season in the Pac-12. We all know the story with Cameron Ward, of course, hitting the portal and making his way west to Pullman after coming from Incarnate Word. Has some consistency from the personnel standpoint. Washington State's offensive coordinator, I believe his name is Eric Morris, comes over with Word from Incarnate Word, as well as the wide receiver. I want to say Victor, I think. Hopefully,
Victor was here.
No. Okay, he had a receiver. This is why we have Andrew on the show, because he knows the team better than I do. Yeah, man, suffice it to say, Oregon's going to have their work cut out going against what's already proven to be a very electric quarterback and a pretty proven passer.
Yeah, and the big key for Oregon is gonna be to put pressure on Cam, because that's when Cam has had trouble. If he's able to sit there in that pocket, Cam has been lethal this year. I mean, he is dropping dimes. He has his 2 big play wide receivers on the outside, and Donovan Ollie and Dejon Stribling, and he has pretty much been automatic getting the ball to those guys when he hasn't been under pressure. But when he has been pressured, he has been susceptible to making some mistakes. You know, he has thrown a few picks. He's fumbled the ball a couple times. So definitely would like to see Oregon put some pressure on Cam and see if he can kind of reverse that trend. I mean, we've all seen him so far this year when he's able to just stand in the pocket and deliver, how good he's been. Well, now we need to see a little bit more consistency when he's on the run and when he's being pressured. So that's one of my big keys heading into this week as well, is trying to slow him down. And if Oregon can do that, they need to put pressure on him. And that's when they might be able to force him into a few mistakes that he wouldn't normally make if he was just able to sit in the pocket.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed that the players and coaches have talked about all week, and then I've seen on film, is that he does a really good job of getting the ball out quickly. And that's something that Oregon's had to go against from a defensive standpoint twice already this season, with both Stetson Bennett and Gunnar Talkington at Eastern Washington being quick release quarterbacks that just want to get the ball to their playmakers really quickly. And with Ward, when you give him time to just sit back in the pocket, he's not going to be afraid to take those deep shots down the field with some of those talented wide receivers that you mentioned, Andrew. Stribling definitely being one that I've been fond of watching, outside of the Oregon circle, just in Pac-12 play. But with Ward, he's not necessarily more of your traditional dual threat kind of guy. He doesn't necessarily excel running the ball, but that doesn't mean he can't hurt you with his legs. He's mobile and kind of more of that NFL kind of dialogue, right? He's able to sidestep defenders, to, extend plays, get outside the pocket, and, maybe make a little bit more of what's given to him than your, average quarterback. So I think that speaks not only to his overall skill set, but also just his football IQ, his experience, his feel for the game. So Oregon's definitely going to have to key in on him, and I feel like he's priority number 1 for Dan Lanning, Tosh Lupoi, and the rest of that defensive staff.
Yeah, that was an excellent breakdown there, Max. This guy, I mean, Cam, like you said, he is mobile. He can move around, and he kind of enjoys scrambling a little bit. I think it heightens his awareness a little bit and gets him keyed in downfield. But like you said, he's not a guy that's just going to sit there in the pocket and just get hit all day. He definitely can move outside. He can pick up first downs with his legs. But like you said, he's not a dual threat guy. He's not a Lamar Jackson. He's not going to be, making guys miss with spin moves in open field or anything like that. But he's nimble. He can get around. And so I think that's something that Oregon's going to have to worry about. But the biggest thing that you mentioned was he likes to get the ball out early. They like throwing screens. They like throwing inside screens to some of their slot guys like Lincoln Victor and Renard Bell, who's been there for like 8 years now. So these guys are vets. These wide receivers, they know what they're doing out there. And Cam likes to get the balls in their hands as fast as he can and let them kind of make plays down the field.
Yeah, and I think that Oregon has an opportunity, I think, if you're not able to get pressure on Ward, definitely want to try to get some hits on him early so it, kind of delay that process of him getting settled in and feeling comfortable. But the line has to get their hands up to try to bat some balls down. And then you mentioned those screens and those quick passes. I think that's where some of the football IQ for Oregon, some of the play recognition is going to have to come into play. Trying to read the passes, maybe jump a couple passes. Don't let the linemen get their hands on you. You know how things go. Since we're talking QBs, we talked a lot about Bo Nix, but now that we're on Cameron Ward, I thought this was kind of an interesting question from my guy Gerard. Gerard asks, to both Andrew and Max, both QBs this Saturday have reputations for making both highlight and questionable plays. Do you think this game will come down to which QB makes fewer mistakes or more highlights?
For me, that question has a very simple answer, and it's who makes fewer mistakes. That's going to be the big thing that determines the outcome of this game. And that's something that Cam has struggled with through the first few weeks. He had a big, the game-winning touchdown pass to Nakia Watson in the Wisconsin game. People forget he threw an interception 2 plays before that, and Lincoln Victor made an outstanding play and jarred the ball free, and it was recovered by Washington State, which set up that touchdown. So Cam's been susceptible to turning the ball over, and I think it's whoever makes the fewest amount of mistakes is probably going to be the quarterback that comes out on top on Saturday. Obviously, we saw Bo in the Georgia game make some mistakes, but since then, he's been pretty consistent. He's had better judgment, a lot fewer mistakes. He's been much more consistent. I think his QB rating has been almost perfect the last 2 weeks. So definitely whoever makes fewer mistakes. I think both of them will make some highlight plays that'll show up on the Pac-12 highlight show on Pac-12 Network after the games are over on Saturday. But whoever makes the fewest amount of mistakes, I believe, is going to be the team that wins this game.
Yeah, and I think too for Oregon, you have to feel comfortable with the skill talent that they have. I feel like when I think about this question along the lines of more highlights, it's like, a quarterback playing hero ball. Like they don't have that many options. So it's like if he doesn't have a good game, they're not going to be able to win. But I feel inclined to agree with the fewer mistakes side of this question and answer because if they're able to take care of the ball, then it's, you're not creating more opportunities for your opponent. We saw, like you mentioned in that Georgia game, when they turned the ball over on back-to-back drives, which was already bad enough. But when you have an offense that's red hot and really experienced like Georgia's, they're going to make you pay, and they're going to turn those points the turnover into points. So I think for this one, especially when you're playing on the road, I think that you can just do yourself a world of favors if you can just take care of the ball and not shoot yourself in the foot. So I was thinking about writing that as one of my keys to the game, but I think that's kind of coming off in my answer as, kind of implied. You just don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. Like we talked about with the environment, you don't want to have those false start penalties. So I think that for this one, it's going to come down to who makes fewer mistakes. And both of these quarterbacks, have some good experience playing college ball prior to this year. So you think that it's fair to expect them to be able to take care of the rock.
Yeah. And you mentioned it in your keys to the game that whoever wins the turnover battle is likely going to win this game. Oregon's defense has stepped up a little bit better the last 2 weeks, and Washington State's defense I'm very high on. I think they're an elite Pac-12 defense. They should finish the year in at least, I would say, the top 3 defenses in the conference. I think both of these defenses are going to be well prepared, and I think going against a quarterback in practice like Cam, or for Oregon going against Bo in practice, will help these defenses plan for their counterpart on Saturday because they're kind of similar. Maybe Bo makes more plays with his legs than Cam does, but at the same time, they have similar skill sets. They like getting the ball out early. They like, moving around in the pocket a little bit. So I think that'll help these defenses as well. And it's been a common thread today. I think whoever does win the turnover battle wins this game. Turnovers will simply kill you. And I think whoever is able to hold on to the ball and not, you mentioned it, those negative plays, penalties, turnovers, all that stuff that can contribute to a loss. I think whoever does the least amount of that will win this game.
All right. Well, anything else you wanted to add just on the topic of Cam Ward, kind of the face of this Washington State defense or offense, excuse me. before we kind of move on in the show?
Well, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, the familiarity he has with Eric Morris coming from Incarnate Word, but I think Cam is still trying to, get a little bit more consistency. These 2 turnovers a game that WSU's offense has had the last 2 games, that's not going to cut it going into Pac-12 conference play. So I would like to see him be a little bit more consistent, have a little bit better judgment, and make better decisions on Saturday. It's going to be tough against this Oregon defense, especially if Justin Flo is able to play. We don't know that yet, but if he's able to get in there, Cam's decision-making is going to be a big part of this game, and if WSU is going to be able to pull off the upset at home and hopefully get ranked the following week.